Last night, it was around 11:30 p.m. and everyone in my house had gone to sleep already. Right now, it's just me, my mom, and my brother living in our house because my dad still has to go to work, and he doesn't want to risk exposing us with COVID-19, so he sleeps in our second home, which is a few minutes away. I'm a 21-year-old girl and I'm home from college, so I'm staying in my childhood bedroom on the second floor. My window is directly above the part of my backyard where my dad keeps trash cans to collect rainwater. It hasn't rained in the last couple of days, so the trash cans are empty. There are 3 trash cans directly under my window. All the lights in my house were off except my bedside lamp. I was in my bed texting some friends when I heard a faint screech directly outside my window. I stopped what I was doing and immediately turned off my lamp. Then I listened again, trying to figure out if it was a cat or a child I'd just heard. I didn't hear anything, so I chalked it up to my imagination. But I was on edge as I've never heard a sound like that before. I kept my lamp off though, as I don't have any curtains, I only have vertical shutters and light definitely bleeds through. A few more minutes pass, then I hear another noise, but this time it sounds like a child's laughter. I froze because I've read stories on Reddit about how people will try to lure unsuspecting victims by playing tapes of a baby crying. But I never thought it could happen to me, and I know my immediate neighbors on both sides both have young children, and I wondered if one of them somehow got out of their house. My window faces the neighbor to the right of my house and our houses are relatively close together. I know they have a toddler. They also have a giant pit bull who spends some nights outside in their backyard. There's maybe 10 feet of space between our houses and we share a fence. So I get out of bed and cautiously walk over to my window. First, I only open my shutter a sliver as I don't want to be seen if there's someone outside. I can't see anything, but I heard the noise more clearly now. It's definitely a child's laughter and it sounds close, so I open my shutter completely, trying to see who's making that noise. By this time it's almost midnight. But I don't see anyone, but I keep hearing the laughter. I try to look into my neighbor's yard, but I don't see anything and I don't think their dog is out. I'm really creeped out now, so I go back to my bed and try to go to sleep. I've laid on bed for about 5 minutes when I hear a noise outside my window again. I don't know how to describe it, but the hairs on my arm and neck are standing up as I'm typing this. First, I heard a thud, then it sounded like someone was directly below my window moving the trash cans. I told myself it was probably my neighbor's dog moving around, but I knew it couldn't have been because whenever he's outside, he barks, and plus I didn't see him when I looked out my window. A few moments pass and I breathe a sign of relief and relax a bit. Then I heard a clunk/knock on my window and I tended up again. I was so scared I couldn't move and I prayed that I was just imagining these noises. Then I heard a louder clunk and I ran out of my room to my mom and told her what happened. My mom turned on all the lights and came to my room and looked out my window, but we didn't see anyone. Then she double-checked all our doors were locked and she told me to sleep with her that night. So I moved all my blankets and pillows to my mom's room and slept there. Then today, when I woke up, I had already forgotten about the events of last night. I was in my room getting dressed. I was standing in front of my mirror and I saw something was being reflected on my carpet under my windowsill. I bent down to investigate and realized it was glass. I had a few picture frames by my window and I thought one of them must have been knocked down when my mom and I looked out the window last night. So I look at each picture frame trying to see which one broke. I scan through the frames once, then I feel my heart drop. I scan through them again to make sure I didn't miss any the first time. All of my frames are intact and accounted for. I slowly reach for my shutters and pull them open. More pieces of glass fall at my feet and I feel sick. My window is partially broken. I scream and my mom comes and I show her my window. My mom asked how this could have happened as my window wasn't broken when we looked out it last night. And there's nothing in my backyard that could have caused that. My room is on the side of my house and on the second floor and there are no trees on that side of my house at all. No trees in my neighbor's side yard either. There were also no dead animals or blood which would signal an animal crashing into my window. We don't have a security system or any security cameras, plus my dad can't even stay the night with us. I don't want to be afraid to sleep in my own room, so whoever broke my window, let's not meet ever. I was 17 years old, male at the time, and I was working at this amusement park in my city at one of the biggest fast food places there. We had just finished a busy shift and we all decided to hang out after, and I ended up at a coworker's house. He lived right by a metro station and at 3 a.m. I decided I'm going to head out. I walked to the metro station and only then remember that they all close around 1:15 a.m., so I'm in a part of the city I don't know with no way to get home. I try to call my mom on my cell phone, but of course it dies while I'm trying to, so I shuffle around in my pockets, find 50 cents and use the payphone to give her a call. I explain the situation, where I am, and ask if she can pick me up. She's not happy about it, but she obliges. I'm sitting on the bench waiting for her, and out of the corner of my eye I see this old man staring at me. He's tall, super slim, and is wearing jeans that are way too loose for his frame. I think nothing of it, even though at that time I should have wondered what he was just doing out there so late. While this wasn't a horrible part of the city, it wasn't the best place either. After a couple of minutes, I look back and the ducker is still staring at me, only now when he sees me he starts grabbing himself over his jeans. I'm not freaked out really, just more annoyed because in my head I can take him if something happens, which is really dumb to think because he could have been armed. I give him a dirty look and he starts to walk off down the building blocking my view of him. I figure it's done, but I can't shake this feeling like he's still around. So I walk up to the curb of the block I'm on and look in the direction that he left. He didn't go very far. He was just standing there, maybe 25 meters from me, still looking. I go back to sit down on the bench, realizing the situation I'm in now. I go back to check a couple of minutes later, he's gone. Now I'm feeling a little uncomfortable, so I decide to leave the area. I figured I would walk towards the direction my mom was coming from, and keep an eye out for her on my way. As I continue walking, I see cop cars and a bunch of police investigating a hair salon that had been broken into. This becomes important later. At some point, I figure the idea of meeting my mom was dumb, and after 10 minutes of walking I decide to go back to the metro station. I'm standing on the curb, and suddenly a red van pulls up alongside me and the windows roll down. It's the same guy. He asked me if I need a lift. Obviously knowing that this is not going to end well if I go in the car, I say no in no uncertain terms, and as he drives off, memorize his license plate as fast as I can. I'm shook up, but I remember the police officers at the salon. I walk all the way there and they're still there. I explain the situation. I'm worried they won't take me seriously, but the cop was super nice and took down my statement and the license plate number. He told me to go back to the metro, and once they were done with the salon they would be there to check in on me. Once I get back to the metro, about a block down is the same red van, illegally parked and with him clearly just in there waiting for me. I try to look like I don't see him, but at the same time being super vigilant that he doesn't get out of his car. At that same moment the police pull up, I point at the red van and the van at that point speeds off. The cops go after him, and come back later saying that they went to check his house and he wasn't there. I apologized for ducking up and pointing him out, but the cop assured me that I did more than enough, and with a report now they can have an inkling of a case if ever this happens again. My mom pulls up, sees me talking with cops and stares at me with daggers in her eyes. "So creepy guy at the metro, I hope you weren't a serial killer, and I hope you were just looking for a prostitute and weren't looking to harm me. Even though I have a feeling you were? It's fucking scary to think it could have been that close if I was a little less street smart. I hate knowing that people like that exist." This is my first Let's Not Meet post. I have a few frightening stories to tell, but this one is playing out right now, so I thought I would share it with you. Here goes. Last May my husband, myself, and our 2 small boys left our little farm in the country and moved into a posh, boutique-style urban apartment building. My husband had recently received a sizable raise after many years with his current company, and we wanted to be closer to his office and to mine. We chose this particular building as it was brand new and offered an array of shopping, eating, and outdoor amenities without ever having to leave the building or surrounding shopping center. We quickly settled in and started enjoying the new change of pace. At first everything was fine, but about 3 months into our lease we noticed that the front office completely changed staff. We were upset about the change because 2 of the receptionists had been personal friends of ours. We asked them why everyone had been let go, but they said they didn't know why. Apparently corporate had just decided they wanted a change. We were sad to see our friends go, especially our 2- and 3-year-old boys who had grown quite fond of their daily visit to the office for milk and cookies. We also noticed that the new staff was mainly comprised of much younger, attractive women. We assumed then that the management company intended to appeal to the college crowd and singles. We were slightly annoyed with the general lack of experience in customer service, but thought that it wasn't the end of the world and moved on. Then weird stuff started happening. One morning I walked into the living room to find our patio door wide open. It seemed odd because we triple lock it to keep the children from accessing the patio unsupervised. I locked the door and then accused my husband of being absent-minded and leaving it open. He swore that he hadn't touched the door or the locks in days, and I let it go, but Made a mental note to start checking it every night before bed just in case. About 2 weeks later I awoke to the sound of my oldest boy screaming for me somewhere outside of the apartment. When I found him he was wandering the hallway outside, soaked in urine, and utterly terrified. At the time we were absolutely baffled at how he had managed to unlock 2 locks and a child-proof lock cover. When we asked him what happened he said that a monster was in his room looking at him and he didn't want to move so he peed in the bed. Honestly, I was so happy he was safe that I just chalked it up to kid imagination and my husband not locking the door properly again. It never crossed my mind that someone had potentially been inside the apartment and let him out. They would have had to open the door from the outside and only we have a key. Weird stuff like that kept happening for several more months and we kept finding reasonable excuses that explained everything away. Then one afternoon I got a phone call from the office of our apartment. We had recently installed a Ring doorbell to alert us when someone was at the door. It was mostly an attempt to prevent another runaway toddler. The woman from the office asked me if our door camera was operational or just put there to make people think that we had security. I informed her that it was 100% functional and that we had installed video surveillance in our nursery and the adjoining bathroom to keep the kids safe. She then asked me a really odd question. She wanted to know if I would add her to our security devices so that she could view our Ring footage. Of course I politely told her that was not going to happen. I asked her why she wanted it but I never got a clear answer. I told my husband about the call later that night and he agreed that we should make an effort to always keep the Ring charged and recording to the cloud. We did, and things seemed fine, for a while. Over the course of our lease the doors have continued to occasionally, magically, come unlocked and open. Even locks that the kids can't reach, and it's always overnight or we notice them when we get home from work. About 2 months ago things started to go missing from the apartment. At first it was little things like a new tube of Dior mascara or a $20 bill left on the kitchen island. My husband and I thought it might be the baby storing them somewhere like treasures. He sometimes does that with my husband's golf balls so it wasn't too far-fetched. Then bigger more expensive items started to disappear. Our iPad vanished from my nightstand. A leather jacket with a designer label no longer hung from its hanger on my side of the closet. A bra, still with tags, was absent from one of my dresser drawers. And a full bottle of prescription painkillers was nowhere to be found. So was a half bottle of my anxiety meds. We now began to suspect that something really weird was happening in our apartment but had no proof. The nursery and bathroom cameras didn't show anything during the day and we started making our boys sleep in bed with us at night, the bedroom door locked from the inside. I could swear that I woke up in the middle of the night once to a slight thudding noise and saw the shadows of movement on the other side of the door, but I fell back asleep before I could register what was happening. I take a Tylenol 3 most nights before bed so while I do wake up at the slightest noise, staying awake is a battle of its own. This is our last month at these apartments. In 2 weeks we will be moving into our own home. 2 weeks ago I obtained a money order for the last month's rent. It was a large money order and had to be halved into 2. As always I brought it home, along with the receipt, and placed them into the plastic magnet sleeve attached to the freezer that also housed our monthly invoice. Now, I don't know how to fill out a money order. I know how stupid that is but I never worried about it since my husband usually fills them out and pays our rent. It's not that I can't learn but I'm lazy and don't mind letting him do it. That means that the money order in the rent sleeve was blank. And guess what? It too went missing. A novice mistake, I know, but thank God for online banking. One call to our bank and an investigation had begun. We waited with unease until this afternoon when a representative from the company that had issued the money order gave us a call. The call was to inform us that the order had been cashed and that the thief was identified. Sure enough, it was one of the receptionists in our building. The same young woman who had called to ask about our new security devices. She has been using the spare maintenance key to come inside our apartment whenever she wants. Tomorrow I will take this information to the building's manager. At the moment we aren't pressing charges as long as our conditions are met. Hopefully this young lady gets help because we don't think she's malicious, just a thief and a grade A creeper. Don't worry. Tonight will be our last night here. As far as her watching my children sleep goes, I can't say that I will be comfortable having them sleep away from me for a good long while. I feel terrible for not believing my son. I tear up just thinking how scared he really must have been. The new house will get a full security system with every bell and whistle. We still aren't sure how she got past the Ring camera without being seen, but my husband is dead set on figuring it out. To the seriously weird receptionist who's been entering our apartment at night and while we are at work. You'd better hope we don't meet again. Update: when we got to the office this morning the manager greeted us, apologized about 20 times and informed us that said receptionist had been let go when she arrived on property this morning. We made sure that he understood the gravity of the situation, especially concerning our children's safety and the fact that the building is mostly comprised of families and retirees. We came to an agreement not to pursue legal action against the company as long as we could leave today with our deposit in hand and never hear from them again. We also made him promise to send out a PSA to the other residents explaining portions of the situation in case she has been doing this to other people. Which I bet money that she has. We are currently throwing our belongings in boxes and laundry baskets, awaiting family and friends coming to help us move out. My husband and I have decided not to pursue our missing property, however we will be filing charges for the theft of the money order. We think she was leaving the patio doors unlocked because we have a first-floor apartment with a sunroom and she was unlocking them at night when we charged the ring, so that she could let herself in during the day via the patio. It explains why we never got her on camera and why she would be so bold as to come in at night while we were home asleep. My guess is that the night our son got out, she had snuck in to unlock the back doors and saw him awake. She must have waited until he was still for a while and then ran back out the front door, forgetting to completely shut and lock it. When he finally felt safe enough to get out of bed, he saw the lights from the hall and followed them, wanting to be out of the dark where he saw the monster. Thank you guys for watching. If you enjoy the video, don't forget to like the video and subscribe.